freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round one recap for this week's BMW Championship. Joining me to break it all down, Kyle Porter is here. Hello, KP.
Hello, Rick Gehman. What are you reading right now? We haven't talked about this in a while.
It is called Blood, Sweat, and Chrome. It is the behind the scenes story of how Mad Max, Fury Road, and those movies were made, and how it was like this 25-year saga.
Really?
The things that they encountered along the way that they filmed it was like they filmed it in the middle of like Nambia or something, like some desert in the middle of nowhere, where like it was just insane. Everybody hated each other. It was just like a real thing. Like crazy thing.
Who recommended that? Like, how did you get turned on to it?
So so when Fury Road came out, which came out in 2015, I was like, holy crap, I've never seen a movie like this. Like, and I don't like a lot of movies, but like it was just different. It's like one big action scene. And then it won all those awards. We just went and saw the new one. Furiosa is the new movie, but I didn't realize that it dates back to like 1988 or something like that. The original Mad Max movie. Then there was a second one. Mel Gibson played the original Mad Max. So I've like been in this. I've read the comic book. Like I've just been in this Mad Max world recently. And so this was kind of, as I was reading about it on the internet, a recommendation was like, you should read Blood, Sweat, and Chrome.
I'm always interested in, and this is a little bit of, we've seen this in golf a little. I've tried to do this with normal sports. Is like create a world, right? Where people, because I think when you can create a world that people can kind of jump into, and I mean, literally think about like Mario, like you go into this world and you're just like looking around, exploring. I've never seen this before. Like, this is different. This is crazy. And I think when you can do that and start to build it out, I mean, this is what you see with the, like all the Marvel movie. Like I'm not like in that world, but there are other worlds that I like to get into that I think are, it's just, you need a guide or somebody to like show you around if the world is big enough. But I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So that's what I'm in the middle of right now. What are you reading?
MVP Machine baseball book. Have you heard of it?
No. MVP Machine. What is
you
it?
would love it because it's basically about professional player development over since we stopped playing baseball, like the last 15, 20 years. And dude, I think you're similar to me in that you just kind of been out of it, like not really paid that much attention or whatever. And the techniques and development now are just like mind blowing. You're just like, that would have been considered insane when I was playing, when I was growing up. Stuff like, and this is like the very, tip of the iceberg, but like throwing weighted balls.
Right.
Like if you were throwing a weighted ball when I was playing, you would have gotten yelled at, whatever, just like, what are you doing? And now it's like common practice, table stakes. This is what you do, which is why everybody throws 98 now.
Right. I think there's also, I don't know about you, I don't remember recovery ever being part of the conversation.
No.
And I feel like that is now a large slice of the pie, as you can imagine.
Yeah, totally. And it's a little bit of the money ball, the new money ball and what I mean by that is like teams are just pouring a lot of resources into development rather than trying to just draft guys that they see have like a competitive advantage. And so they're like, okay, well, we're still going to do that, but we're also going to try to get an advantage by developing those guys that we do draft, which was never, it sounds dumb, but it was like never a huge part of the equation for the last however many years that baseball has gone on.
I just saw that there is a state-of-the-art pitching machine that simulates so it's like a digital picture. So you see a pitcher wind up and throw it, but it's of any pitcher you want. So you can load any pitcher in. It has all of their repertoire. It has their spin rate. It has all the pitches that they actually throw. And like 20 of these Major League Baseball teams have these. And guys are literally going down in the tunnel, loading up the pitcher they are about to face, running through all his pitches, and then coming out to hit him. And pitchers are like, whoa, what are we doing here?
Isn't that crazy?
It feels a bit like cheating. Maybe we should turn these off before they're pushing to turn them off 3 hours before the game starts.
Well, I don't know how much you followed baseball this year, but I'm pro hitter. I mean, the pitching right now it's almost like swung too far. Like it's I saw a rule proposal today that was like pitchers are going to have to pitch 6 innings, or starting pitchers are going to have to pitch 6 innings.
I saw that too. How are they going to enforce that?
I don't know, because like the first guy that blows out his arm, you're like, told you.
Yep. Or the first guy who says, oh, actually, yeah, I am hurt. I need to come out in the 4th inning. Everybody's just going to be like, oh, well, I'm hurt. I need to come out. What are they going to do? Make him sit out a start?
Like Little League.
The whole thing, it is going to be so unenforceable. I don't know how
it's crazy, but it does. This has happened in basketball, and I think we've seen this in golf. We'll bring this back to golf. Like I think we've seen this in golf a little bit. Is you take something down, you strip it down to like the most minute detail and form of that thing, and you become more efficient at it. But I don't know that that's like great for the sport overall. Like the threes and layups thing in basketball, I don't follow a ton, but you hear people complain all the time. To pull it back to golf, it's like driving distance. Like just hit it as far as you can and go, bomb and gouge. Basically, you're like, well, yeah, that's smart statistically. That's what you should do. But is that good? Like, is that what we want golf to be? I don't know. It's a really interesting conversation that the more advanced we've gotten because of technology, maybe like the less fun the sport is overall to consume.
Yeah, it's definitely a battle that all sports are fighting right now, including golf. Speaking of which, here's where we're at. Play has been suspended at the BMW Championship. There was a storm that came in. There was lightning in the area, and they pulled the golfers off the course. There are many of them. The vast majority are done. The only guys out on the golf course have a half a hole, maybe 2.5 holes to go. So we are almost at the finish line of round 1 here, so we can get you up to date with what is going on. And early this morning, almost one of the first tee times of the day, Siwoo Kim got off to a very hot start here, KP. He was 4 under through his first 7 holes, and then in typical Siwoo fashion, he kind of alternated birdies and bogeys the rest of the way. It was a 3 under 69. He started the week 44th in the FedEx Cup standing, so he does need to improve his position. And even where he's at right now, T7 would not get him into Eastlake. He's got to roll on. Yeah,
Siwoo, I was following this early, and he kind of felt like the pace car where you're like, well, I don't think that's going to be the guy that leads, but yeah, good. It's a nice start. Maybe you can look this up on talking, but what's the best he's ever finished in the FedEx Cup? I can't imagine that I guess maybe when he won the Players, he was like a top 15 guy, maybe, depending on how he played at that Tour Championship. But yeah, he just always seems to be he seems to be kind of a bubble boy, like to get to Eastlake, to get to the Tour Championship. And he is once again this year.
I don't like the way they've done this now. I got to drop down results by career.
Terrible.
Okay. All right. His bet. Do you want to take a guess?
I would say 13th.
Okay. It was the year that he won the Players, which was the 15-16 year. Yeah, I mean, pretty close. 17th. So good guess. He finished 20th in 2023. So that was what, last year? And now he's currently 44th, like I mentioned, but he would finish. He's projected to be 33rd if the tournament ended right now. So yeah, good call. He's got just a bunch of like mid 50s finishes. Often doesn't even make the Tour Championship every single year. A guy who does make the Tour Championship every single year is Xander Schauffele, who continues his assault on the game of golf. Just one blemish on the card. That came on the par 4 13th. Otherwise, Xander was very good again. A 3-under 69 in which he was top 25 in all 4 major strokes gained categories. As we sit here right now, almost at the conclusion of round number 1, he is 3 shots off the lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just typical Xander round. He's just setting himself up for the next 3 days, and it's just what you're going to get, and that's why he's so difficult to beat right now. Were you surprised that scores weren't better on Thursday, Rick?
No, I mean, listen, there's trouble everywhere. And I think that even if you keep it dry, you can't take on a lot of risk. So you're not seeing a lot of guys trying to throw darts at every single pin because the miss is so penal. So I like this golf course because you could shoot a 6-under 66. We saw one of those. You could be 6 or 7 over par. Saw a couple of those, but you have to play it correctly. And there was a ton of doubles out there. There were a ton of birdies out there. I like that. But no, I think it's just the nature of risk versus reward, especially at the first round.
It was a great call by you. I think maybe last Sunday when we were talking, or maybe earlier this week, just about how the water cut-ins really affect guys. And we saw it, like, it felt like every time I looked up, I was seeing it with Wyndham Clark.
I saw a lot of balls in the water today.
And you're like, oh my gosh, like it's not that bad of a shot, but you have to have the distances right. And so, yeah, I think that like that part of it is actually, because it was weird because guys were talking about, hey, 20 under is going to win this, or 22 or whatever. And you're like, okay, that's not really, I mean, maybe, but that's not really matching up with what I'm seeing on Thursday. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that goes and how they set up pins and all that stuff.
You have to be very good on distances on a golf course that a lot of guys are playing clubs to distances that they don't normally do and are trying to be committed to shots and just trusting it. So if this was at sea level and you had to hit, like, I think it'd be a little bit easier, but you already have a little bit of a little doubt in everybody's mind.
Totally.
Just because of the numbers that they're hitting in. Scotty Scheffler played alongside Xander Schauffele and started his day with 10 consecutive birdies before 10 consecutive pars before carding birdies on 11 and 12. He made 2 bogeys on 13 and 15, and he got 1 more birdie coming in here, KP. This was a 1-under round of 71. Scotty is in T15, but I think I don't know if it's a story or not, because we've seen him do this before. A little bit of the hold in the back, wincing a little bit, things that we've seen throughout the year that you don't always love to see.
His explanation was not commensurate with his reaction. Like, they were not equivalent. So I don't know. Like, the only answer will come on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because it looked not great. But then his explanation was like, oh yeah, wait, what shot were you? He got asked about it and he was like, wait, which shot? And you're like, buddy. Yeah. It's like the one you like massively reacted on. So I think he's fine. I mean, we've seen this a little bit with him, Players Championship, obviously with the neck. And I honestly, Rick, it made me think not about this week. I think he'll be totally fine. I think he'll finish T3 or whatever. It made me think like, okay, is this, he's 27 or whatever he is. The neck, the back, like, is this going to be a thing into his 30s and as he gets older? Or we see this happen all the time. I'm not like making some proclamation about the future of Scotty Scheffler, but it just kind of put that thought in my head of like, that could be an interesting like meta storyline over the next 10 years for him.
Yeah. I also just think there was so much golf this year.
Yeah.
Just an incredible amount of golf, especially for Scotty, who wants to play in Texas. He's going to be at the Olympics. He's going to be in all the Ryder Cup and President Cups. Like, it's just so much golf. And I wonder if that's just, nobody's at 100% right now, unless you're Adam Scott, apparently. I don't know. Patrick Cantlay. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Adam Scott, 4 under 68, very well rested coming in. His only bogey was early in the round on the 3rd hole. It was a reverse bounce back after birdieing number 2. He rolled the rock beautifully. He gained 2.5 strokes putting KP. Probably not going to happen for the rest of the week. I doubt he's going to gain 10 this week, but he was positive in all the other tee to green categories as well. And somebody that's just been driving it well and overall playing nicely entering this week.
It's really underrated stuff. I mean, he's 44. He's more than twice Nick Dunlap's age, which I think you might have referenced on an HQ hit or something that we
Somebody did. It wasn't me. It was
Patrick.
Patrick said it somewhere this week. Yeah.
Your sleeper and my sleeper had a nice Thursday. I think you had Adam Scott and I had Nick Dunlap.
Yeah, we'll get to him. We'll get to him in a second. But yes, they're well under par. Adam Scott is so the top of the board is getting pretty interesting because Adam Scott started 41st. He's now moved to 22nd in the FedEx Cup standings. That would get him into next week. Alex Noren 45th, now in 23rd. So there are, and even Corey Connors started 33rd, now to 20th. So we're going to see this kind of jockeying and moves being made all week long. But Adam Scott, as of this moment, on the correct side.
I think Adam Scott's really interesting because he's obviously aging very well, but the thing is, Rick, he has a swing that ages very well. And so you watch him when he's 30 or whatever, and you can see like, oh, that could be like very good still when he's 45. And it is. I think he's 44. On the flip side of that, you watch somebody like a Justin Thomas at 30, and you're like, I don't know, maybe. I hope Justin Thomas is awesome when he's 45. But I think there's a longevity sort of built in there with Adam Scott that is very cool. It fires me up as somebody who is closer to his age than I am to JT's. I think it's cool stuff.
Yeah, and another example of that, Louis Oosthuizen is 41 years old and playing the best golf of his life, and it's just got that Louis swing.
Phil's swing is so like it's never put. I mean, Phil doesn't get hurt.
No, how could you when you can high kick over another human? He's very flexible.
Good point.
Yeah. The man they all chase for now, Hideki could also get to the top. So can't crown Keegan Bradley as the first round leader just yet, but that's where we stand. The only bogey-free round of the day came from Keegan. 6 under 66, where he kind of did this in spurts. Birdies on 1 and 2, 13 and 14. So back-to-back birdies in both of those situations. Then he closed with one as well. This would be a massive move for Keegan. Obviously, he's getting the full 2,000 points in the projections right now, but he was the bubble boy. He was 50th to get into this event. If he wins and everything else kind of falls as it has right now, he'd move to 4th.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was tracking the who the new top 10 is, and the big movers. This was an hour ago, so the big movers were him and Dunlap, and he's in that sort of spot that we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. And I think it's really crazy that this doesn't happen very often. It kind of happened with Billy Horschel a couple I guess that was 10 years ago now, where you get somebody who kind of squeaks in and then all of a sudden they're contending to win $25 million next week.
Right. Well, that's the thing. So let's just say Keegan, he wins this week. What's that? 3.6. And then he finishes 2nd next week, moves up from 3rd to 2nd.
Yeah.
That is a 7-day stretch in which he would make like $16 million.
Right. And I think just as important, the thing that he sort of hit on after his round, and I thought this was interesting because I hadn't thought about it a ton, but he was just talking about how he was like so nervous last week because he wanted so badly to be in the top 50. One, because he's sociopathically competitive, like all these guys are, and 2, because as the Ryder Cup captain. He wants to be like in the, like, he wants to see, he was like, I want to be in the locker room. I want to be around guys. I want to see what's going on. I want just a you know, like, I want my eyes everywhere to know like who's going well, who's bad, all that stuff. And I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective, but if you're not, I mean, if Tom Kim doesn't shoot 80 in the final round, it wasn't 80, but it wasn't good.
No, but he ran out of holes, or it would have been, because he was like, it was like double to end it.
Then Keegan's 51, right? And not in any of that. So it's a really, I mean, we'll see. Keegan does this, right? Where he can't do the first round lead, miss the cut, because there is no cut, but he's a first round king, and then it doesn't always come to fruition. But I think the broader point is like it's been, or it is important to him, and I think for the US Ryder Cup team, for him to be in those signature events next year. Historically
fast starter, like at a rate that's insane. I was looking for the numbers earlier. I gotta go back and grab them. He's never won after holding an 18 hole lead. Now it's a very small closing rate for all guys on the PGA Tour, but he's like 0 for, I don't know, 11 or 12 or something.
Producer Josh had a tweet that was like, multiple putter raises from Keegan on a Thursday is a little, it's pretty on brand.
Yeah, Thirsty Thursday. The other thing is, could you imagine after this year of Scotty and Xander, if Keegan Bradley, who has 0 wins this year, wins this week and next week, grabs the $28.5 million in the stretch, and is your FedEx Cup champion?
It would be sick because well, a couple of things. One, he would be on the President's Cup team.
Yeah, he'd have to be.
So he'd be a playing vice captain,
which has probably never happened before.
Which he would probably just play. And then it would honestly, it would be the Horschel, because I know I mentioned this earlier, but I don't think Horschel won that year leading into, he couldn't have, because he was like 80th. And I don't think you can be that low after having won in the regular season.
Yeah, I don't think you could either.
So he was like, whatever, fine. I mean, Keegan only has 2 top 10s this year and only 1 since January.
Yeah, I think they're both runner-up finishes, aren't they? Something like that?
Yeah, it was T2 at Sony and T2 at Colonial.
Okay.
And so it would be the full Billy from 2014, where I'm trying to think. 2014 was Rory, and who else was great that year? 2014, Bubba probably was up there. And then all of a sudden, here comes Billy and steals it was only whatever, 10 million back then, or 15. And that's a little bit what could happen with Keegan.
Billy did not have a win. I just confirmed that, what we suspected, but I also forgot this part. So he went T2 at the Deutsche Bank, the playoff event before.
Was that Kirk? I think Chris Kirk won it.
And then he win at the BMW Championship, win at the Tour Championship. 2024 Deutsche Bank was, yes, Chris Kirk by 2. Good call. Yeah. Wow.
So that's like that's what's on the table for Keegan, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, sick stuff. Okay, well, we've got the guys who are had just finished or might still be out on the golf course trying to round out the top of this board. We're going to continue this conversation, get you that update after a quick word. And we're back. Rory McIlroy was standing over a 20-foot putt for birdie on his last hole of the day when the horn blew, and KP, because it was a dangerous situation, you cannot choose to putt out. You got to get off the golf course. It's not like it was daylight that we ran out of, but Rory McIlroy is putting to get to 4 under par. And after a little bit of a slow start, just 1 under through 10, kind of kicks it into gear later in the round. The big bird, the eagle, coming on number 14. And like I said, he'll have a chance. It'll be an outside chance, but he will have a chance to get to 4 under par, which would be 2 shots behind Keegan.
I think that putt was for par.
You are 100% correct. I misread the shot tracker. So actually, it's a much worse situation.
Yeah.
He's probably going to drop to 2 under.
Right.
Okay.
Because he hit it in the bunker off the tee.
And he pitched out.
And he had to pitch out.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw some of his back nine. He's not driving it well again. He's lost strokes.
That is so weird.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. He's not playing great golf right now. He's playing fine. He's okay. I don't have the confidence. Like you look at Xander and Scotty, I pretty much know what Xander's going to do this week, right? He's going to shoot 69, 68, 70, 67 and finish in the top 4. Like you just kind of like what it is.
And if he makes a couple extra birdies, he wins. Like,
yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
And with Rory, I'm like, I don't really totally know because of how all over the place it's been since the US Open. And I think that lack of consistency, it's pretty unusual for him. He's one of the most consistent players, I think, in the modern era in terms of being good. Guys are consistently bad. He's consistently good. And so it's, any variance to that, even if it's small, like right now, he's not playing bad, but there is a variation. You're like, that's unusual because he's normally very, very, very steady.
With either 1 or 2 strokes to go, I'm going to say Rory doesn't 3-putt from 20 feet. He's losing strokes with the longest club in his bag, the driver, and the shortest club in his bag, the putter. Everything else is looking good, but just a weird kind of situation. But he'll be under par heading into the second round. Nick Dunlap was dangerously close to the top of the leaderboard at 5 under par before he stepped to the tee at 15. He hit his second shot into the water, had to drop from 107 yards out in the fairway. He ended up making a double there, KP. He still has 2.5 holes to go. He is on the green with a very outside chance for birdie there on number 16, but and a par 5 to play. So there is a chance that he could get deeper, get it back to 4 under. Who knows what happens, but Nick Dunlap is charging at the end of the year.
Well, it's really interesting. I was following his round pretty closely. I was writing about him a little bit for CBSSports.com. And the thing that stood out to me, Rick, was how volatile his FedEx Cup ranking was. He went from, I think he was 48th. So he was near Keegan. He barely got in as well. Who was 49th? Grazerman?
The answer is Cam Davis.
Oh, Cam Davis. Okay. Grazerman might have been 46. But with Dunlap, he moved from 48th all the way to 9th or 8th or something like that through 13 holes. And then he makes a double and he's back to 39th. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, okay, as of right now, and he's not thinking about this, but as of right now, I have a chance to win $25 million next week. And now I'm not at the Tour Championship. Like it is volatile. It is super, super volatile and makes it, I don't know that we need to follow the FedEx Cup standings hole by hole, but it does make it kind of interesting if you're talking about who's getting in and who's out next week.
Yeah. So as KP said, currently 39th, obviously holes to play here and a long way to go at the BMW Championship, but Nick Dunlap on the outside looking in. And then the man who is closest to Keegan Bradley, last week's winner, Hideki Matsuyama, is at it again. A birdie streak early in his round, 2, 3, and 4. And he has made 3 birdies and a bogey on his second 9. He is in the fairway on 18 with 168 yards to go. He's 5 under. So Keegan, we can't cash those Keegan Bradley first round tickets just yet. Hideki out there lurking. And like we've talked about for the last handful of days, kind of solidifying that spot in third, giving himself a really good chance to win the FedEx Cup.
Yeah, I think my question about him is, and I don't know how much digging you've done on this. I'm sure you've looked at it some, but he's putting it amazing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he was awesome last week. He finished, I think, first or second in the field, and he's 5th or 6th so far this week. Is this something where, like, does I guess my question, and maybe you can tweet this out or write about it or whatever, do we think Hideki has great events, or when he finds something with the putter, is it like a month or 2 months where he just gets super hot? I think that would be, because I think that could affect next week, right? Hideki could win next week. I'm almost to the point where I'm just slotting in Scotty, Xander, Hideki, or Xander, Scotty, Hideki, and then everybody else kind of playing for 4th. But he's starting at 7 under. That's pretty live to me going into Eastlake.
Agreed. I can look into that. It is interesting because I don't think, sometimes you see these runs. He hasn't really made any. Like sometimes you see this when a guy changes putters, right? But he hasn't really made any significant, at least that we can see or that we know of, right? It just started rolling it better. I mean, he's been making small improvements for a year or so, but the last 8 starts have been sick.
He sounds like he's making threats. I think he was trying out a new putter on the green last Sunday. So he's threatening. I don't think he went with it. I think he's threatening his current putter.
Okay, so this is a good strategy to keep what's the word I'm looking for? Keep the world in line. So I do this too, but I do it in video poker. So when I'm playing video poker and I'm on a losing streak, I switch to deuces wild. I change the game to scare the other game that I'm playing, jacks or better, that I could leave it forever. So the threat mentality, and then you come back and everything rights itself. I'm with Hideki here. You never want that gamer to feel comfortable.
Digital threats. You've sunk very low, Rick.
Yes.
Have you heard? So Nate Silver was on Rick Rubin's podcast recently.
Okay, I didn't see it, but okay.
And he was talking about. They talked mostly about poker, and I guess I didn't realize that Nate Silver was a professional poker player.
Yeah, one point in his career.
He talks a lot about online and just how that world has, like the online poker world, has changed a lot over the last 10 or 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
has that been your experience?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, listen, it was the wild, wild west where it was filled with college kids messing around, whatever, and now it is highly they call it GTO, game theory optimized, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's just like you are there.
It's just a math festival.
There's a correct play here, and then when there are not correct plays, when it's a situation where you just want to, 30% of the time you're supposed to do this, and 70% of the time some of them will use random number generators. So it's like, okay, well, if it's between 1 and 3, the 30% of the time I'll do that. If it's between 4 and 10, I'll do that. And there's just like, no, it's just like all math, all clicking buttons. They've had to fight, softwares that can kind of do all the stuff in real time for you. And now it's almost just like it's still somewhat soft, but like it's like crushers only.
Yeah,
in a lot of these bigger games. Yeah.
Which, again, to take it back to the conversation we were having earlier, it doesn't sound as fun as it used to be.
Right. It's been, the fun has been optimized out of it.
Yeah. Which you're incentivized to do individually, but on the whole, it's like, I don't. Maybe not. Maybe I'll sit this one out.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have the betting favorites, though. I assume they will change if the last couple of. As they get back on the golf course, presumably. Okay, what do we have, Josh? There we go. Xander is the favorite. So Xander, 3 shots back, is 4-1. Hideki still out on the golf course, 1 back, 5-1. Scotty Schauffele, 5.5, and then nobody else in single digits. Rory McIlroy is 12-1. Keegan and Colin are 14. Corey and Sungjae are 16, and then Adam Scott, 20-1. Vegas not thinking old Scotty will be able to get it done.
Well, they do think Scotty will be able to get it done.
One of the Scotties,
different Scotty. Yeah, I don't know. Are you still on Morikawa? I know you're on Morikawa Island, just setting up shop, cooking meats, handing out wine.
Yeah. Yeah. Gained 3 strokes on approach today. Just 2 under par set on the golf course. Yeah, generally, yes. I'm not throwing parties anymore. I'm just cooking for myself.
I don't like any of this. I don't think Keegan's interesting, but it's because I've got Billy Boy Horschel in my head. I think Xander. What was Xander to start the week? Yeah, that was around what his number was. Right?
I think it was 5.5. I think Scotty was 3. Xander was like 5.5. And then everybody else was like 12 and 14.
Okay. Yeah. Producer Josh said 5.5. I guess I would take Xander here, but I don't love it.
I might just go back to Hideki. It's kind of a similar story. Like Hideki's playing some of the best golf in the world, and he's not going to blink at anybody else. Like, Hideki does not care what other guys are doing.
I agree. But it's weird. The weird part about Hideki is he's not really thought of like that. Like nobody freaks out about him on Twitter, and nobody is like writing newsletters about Hideki and podcast. He's kind of just there.
Because Hideki he's not a killer, but he is right. But he's like a more cerebral Dustin Johnson. The reason Dustin Johnson doesn't blink is because he doesn't care and might not know what the situation is. Hideki is just like, maybe he's not above the situation, but he's like outside the situation. Yeah. He's like, you guys think this is big? Like I'm the face of a country.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's a really good call. I like that. And he's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like people freaked out more about the 3-wood he hit into 18 at Waialae than anything else he's ever done in his career. Just that one moment. And then it's like, we've all agreed to continue to forget about him again. So all that to say, I like him at 5-1. I like that pick.
I have not seen an update about whether they are planning, I'll refresh here, on getting back out on the golf course anytime soon. I still see no updates, so I guess we will wait and see. And we will be back not only once tomorrow, but we're coming at you twice tomorrow.
Heck yeah.
Because there is a 2 p.m., Josh, 2 p.m. Eastern time network show, CBS Sports Network, which will serve as your in-play pod, and then a round recap as we normally do. And then, of course, Saturday and Sunday recaps along the way. KP, anything else? Final thoughts?
That's it. I'm playing some golf tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right.
Yeah, it should be. It's weird that the season's over in like 9 days, 10 days.
Yep. But then it starts again in 17 days.
True. Well, kind of. Women's Open. I caught a little of that this morning. It was sick.
I got to go get caught up. I DVR'd it.
Just the wind. I mean, it was awesome. It was cool stuff.
Yeah. That's actually probably what I'm going to go do right now. Okay. Kyle Porter available at Kyle Porter CBS. Producer Josh is doing all the hard work behind the scenes. Thank you very much. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.